It sounds like Survivor's Eye of the Tiger. Dung, 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 dung. It isn't, of course. It's Manic Street Preachers. And it's their first track from their new album, Critical Thinking, also called Critical Thinking. Yeah, so critical thinking is, well, it can be several things, can't it? He said, losing control of his phone. It can be several things. And part of my critical thinking about this album and other albums that Manic Street Preachers have produced is that they were ruined by Design for Life. They were ruined by the success of that. I really think they were. And the duality of that, the art versus commerce, they could have done with an album after Richie Manic was no longer with the band. They could have done with an album that finished that era and started another one. So a kind of bridging album before, well, we're all really famous now and really popular, which is what happened with not Manic Street Preachers, with Design for Life. The thing is, with an album that was so commercial, and with a band that was so anti-commercial, you know, I mean, listen to the albums before that, you know. With all of that, it's very difficult, and sometimes it's a dichotomous thinking, isn't it? Another critical thinking, a dichotomous thinking. It's cognitive dissonance, isn't it? To have that sort of, well, actually, we're really sticking to our beliefs, and, well, people should buy this album and should keep buying this album and buy loads of them. It's not the same sort of thing, is it? And the first track here, as I say, Critical Thinking, which starts with dung 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 dung, rising up. It doesn't do that, of course, but it does sound a bit like that. Then you've got a bit of big bass and 80s art pop with a bit of goth light in there, and there's lots of pop culture chat, which I rather like, all about, you know, live your best life, it's okay to be to not be okay, all of that kind of stuff, which is sloganeering. All of that sort of stuff is sloganeering, and it sounds like Nicky Wire just talking about that, with 80s rattling synths, and that's great. And I thought, this is going to be interesting if they're doing this. Now, I've thought of them as rather warmed over, with moments of, oh yeah, they're coming back in the preceding years after, I suppose, if you tolerate this, really. But I thought, well, maybe this is something that might be interesting. But it's not, because it's immediately followed by Decline and Fall, which is faster with a very, very sunny riff. It's as if they're saying, we didn't mean it. We actually mean this. Do buy our albums, won't you? Play this on the radio, please. It's a bit char. And I just think, you're either one thing or the other. You cannot be both. It's dichotomous. You cannot be both. You cannot say, on the one hand, well, we believe this and we make albums and we want you to buy them. And also, we have this real anti-money, anti-chart, anti feel. Now, I know that Richie was about selling albums to get the message across. But the thing about selling albums is you make money, don't you? And therefore, you're part of capitalism, aren't you? And you're also part of the pop world, aren't you? And when you get to Design for Life, you're really part of it, aren't you? So things like Hiding in Plain Sight, which is basically, it's real anguish. It's real faux anguish. It's got basic indie with some female voices that make. It's the only interesting thing about it. It's all poor me stuff, in my view. Now listen, I may be saying this because, and I've misunderstood. I could be. I could also be cheesed off because I've got the wrong end of the stick. I could be. But, you know, People Ruin Paintings, that's another track, which is, People Ruin Paintings, basic laid-back indie, bit of a kind of Spanish-sounding guitar solo, which is at least interesting. I don't know. I kind of feel that it's just that it doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't make me think that there's anywhere to go either. Yeah, people ruin paintings. People ruin all sorts of things, don't they? People's views and people's intentions and people being people ruin lots of things, don't they? My Brave Friend sounds like, it's the last track, it's widescreen, it's valedictory. It does sound like Everything Must Go. When I'm talking about Design for Life, I'm talking about Everything Must Go as well. Everything Must Go, the album, Design for Life, the song. And when I first thought I'm going to listen to this album, I had Design for Life in my head. That's the issue. Maybe it's my issue alone. But I suspect it's Manic Street Preachers' issue as well. It's dichotomous, and you can't do both. And critical thinking can be lots and lots of things. It can be lots of things, but you can't hold both of those things and give them equal merit and time and importance. You simply cannot, in my view. And it is my view, isn't it? This album, musically, goes nowhere. And the thinking goes nowhere as well, in my view. Now, someone might want to tell me that I'm wrong, and I'll have a discourse, and I'm happy to do so. But right now, this is ossifying. It is decaying on the vine. It's not fecund. There's nowhere for it to go. It's not going to develop into anything. It's people decrying the success they've had and people wishing they were as they were before, but maybe with that success still. Once you've had the success and you've searched for it and you've got it, you can't undo it. Ta-ta.